Hello there, my friends. Dan Deegan here again. And you know what? I figured as we get into this season, if you will, being, end of October, beginning of November, everybody starts really looking at these projections for what's really coming in the next year. And I figured I would share with you my sales system. And what I mean by my sales system is, I've done tons of training on sales training, but what is the system I use to continuously follow up and to never really lose track of who I need to speak to, when I need to speak to them, and how I need to speak to them? So what I want to share with you today is a system that I created pretty much 22, 23 years ago, and I've been using it ever since. It is dynamic, it's amazing at what it does, and it's very simple. You literally need 7 different things. So what we're going to start with is we are going to start with a typical banker's box. I'm going to put this box together, and I'm going to be right back and share with you the rest of it that we got to go. Alright, so now we have the banker's box together. Next what we got to do is we got to cut the top off because we don't really need it for this part of the actual sales program. And really, in the end, the lid actually becomes an issue when it comes to developing and kind of building this internal box. So we're going to take the lid off now. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take an X-Acto. I'm going to cut through it. I should probably use one that is a little sharper. And the lid is now gone. Alright, so now we are left with a shell. I'll move some of this around so we can get some of this going. Now, what I do and how I've been able to... Now, this system works. Obviously, as you're sitting here right now, you guys might be using Salesforce, you might be using a proprietary system to get all your sales done. That's great. If you're like me, I'm a visual guy, I'm a kind of, touch and feel kind of guy. I want to know what I'm doing. I don't mind entering notes into the system, but the system really isn't my meat and potatoes, if you will. It's not the end-all of what I'm looking for when it comes to specifically having a sales system. So what I do is I just take simple manila folders, okay? So, got a bunch of manila folders, and what I want is I want to have each prospect's name across the top of the manila folder. Now, the trick to this is I do it in pencil. The reason I do it in pencil is because if the lead doesn't really get anywhere, it's no big deal. All I do is erase it, and I use it for another prospect, okay? Now, what I also do is I take simple loose leaf paper. And I usually do 4 to 5 sheets. So for this particular instance, I'll grab 4 sheets out of here quickly. I take 4 sheets, I put them in the manila folder, and what I do is I simply just tap it down, and the sheets come to the top, okay? As you can see. And then all I do is I hit 2 staples. Now I've actually got all of the notes that I need for this particular prospect right here. So every date when I call, I write the date. Still, shorthand notes about what we talked about, any birthdays, any kind of useful information that I collect, I write here. And then I write the follow-up date. But what I also do is, say for example, I call this company, and the guy says, okay, you know what, Dan? Call me back in 2 months on the 5th. I actually just take a simple stick-it note, and all I do is I add it right in the corner. And you can do this in any which way, shape, or form. I've sometimes used the little small sticky notes. I've sometimes used the top ones. And then it just goes in the corner, and I'd write something like December 3rd, 2019. Okay? Now, you're probably saying, Dan, all fine and dandy. I put a couple notes in, I get some notes, I re-enter them into the system. The beautiful thing about this is as you go through these pages, so as you write down all the information, and I'll pull that sticky note off for now, as you write down all the information about the prospect, as you write down all the conversation you've had, this actually becomes your customer file. And what can happen is, a lot of the times during our conversations, excuse me, it actually turns out that our notes are sometimes critical when it comes to the nitty gritty of the particular customer when we get them. So I found I just take this, I put it in my customer file for my team, and now everybody has access to every conversation we've ever had. Right? So if there's a conversation where we book all the appointments and maybe it's not on any of the onboarding documents, instead of saying, okay, Mr. Customer, is it possible that, sending them an email to a question they've already answered, we just simply go through here. Oh yeah, he said in his notes on November 10th that this is what needs to be done. So that's the actual prospect folder that turns into the customer folder. Now, you might be saying, Dan, that's all good, but where does this lovely banker's box that has so much character come into play? Well, it comes into play because all we do is we get these little hanging green folders, and I suggest you get 33 to 34 of them. And they go in the banker's box like so. Okay? Now, if you had 33, 34 of these in the banker's box, all I want you to do is the 6th of the 7th item is get yourself some of these fancy dancy, name tags that haven't changed in about 50 years. And with the name tags, all you do is you write down 1 to 31 on the fronts and you put them in order. So in essence, what you're doing is you're creating a scaling system in this particular case. I didn't write anything on any of them because I'm more just giving you the idea. And then, so you can see how this will then scale up. 3 goes to 3, and so on and so forth. So, then your box starts to look like this, okay? Your box has 1 to 31, so it'll go like kind of 1 to 10 and back 10, 20, down to 31, okay? Then what happens is these last few folders back here, because I said get 34, so I usually put 3 folders. And what I actually do, and kind of what I started doing towards the end, was I had 31 plus 3, so I had 34. And then what I did is I started taking blank folders like this, and I made 12 of them. And all I did with the 12 of them is I went back and I just simply put January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. And that January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September actually helped me well, because what I would do is if I start on this side for the actual 1 to 31, I would go on this side with the date. So for example, as I'm recording this, it's pretty much the end of October, beginning of November. So tomorrow is the last day of October. So this would still say October because I'm working in 31 back here. But after 31, I'd have November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Then my October one's here. So I have all 12 months of the year, plus I have 31 days. Then what happens is, I don't know if you recall, but we went back and we said, oh, you know what, Dan? I'm all good. What I want you to do for this Mr. Prospect ABC company is I want you to call me back in December. What I would do is I would take these folders back here that are the December 2020 now folder, or 2019 folder, and I just put it in the December folder. So then what would happen is, say for example, if this was the November folder, and October was done, I'd pull October out, I'd put it right to the back. This November folder, then moves up to the front. Because now I'm going November 1st, 2nd, right? Makes sense? Right? Then the December one comes up. So then when December hits, so November's over, and November goes to the back, behind October, and now it's December. Well, what I have is, let's say, for example, you've got 7 different people that you got to call back on specific days in December. All of them are listed here. So all I do is I pull out the December file, and I say, okay, this one here is on the 4th. So then I go back and I go through and I say, okay, here's the 4th right here. I'm going to drop this one in. And then this one here is on the 7th, so I'm going to drop this in on the 7th. And you just keep going back. And all of your December ones, the call back in a month, the call back this, the call back that, go in your December file. And then this December file, once it's empty, meaning you've associated all the leads into the places they need to go, the December file is very simple. It just does the exact same thing your other ones did, where it just goes right into the front. Bang, you're done. So now you've got your entire sales leads, all of your sales leads, everything. You've not only got every single one of these manila folders working for you because you have notes in them, right? You know what your last conversation was. So for me, the way I find this is extremely, extremely beneficial is when I pull them out, every day I come in. So say I come in tomorrow and I've got 15 in here that I need to call, right? I take them out. I know those are my cold calls or my follow-up calls for the day. And let's say, for example, these ones all have tags because I know when I need to call. I've opened them up. I've seen them. The cold call files don't have anything on them. So let's say, for example, I had, just hypothetically, I had these, 10, 15 folders that were cold calls that I needed to get through today. And let's say as the day progressed, got tied up on a few things, got held up on a few things, I got 6 of them done. So I've associated these 6 somewhere in my 1 to 31 and 12 month file, okay? So I have these, call it 10 left. These actually go in tomorrow's folder. So when I come in tomorrow, I know that I have both cold calls and follow-up calls. See, so all I did here was I just turned the file. The ones facing backwards, meaning here's the actual customer information, but when I looked at them, for me, I'm a very big, again, visual guy. On the left-hand side when I'm looking, so when you guys are looking at it, on the left-hand side was follow-up, on the right-hand side was cold calls. And it was very easy, and I never, here's the thing. With this system and the way it's got, the simplicity and how it's structured, in 23 years, I never lost track of a sales lead. Now think about it for a second, because if you've been in this business for any amount of time, I guarantee you've lost track of leads. Where you were, when you needed to call them back, how you needed to call them back. So even to the point where when I say I've never lost track, meaning I stopped selling for months on end, right? I stopped selling. I knew because of this system exactly where I was. So I could then, with education, with knowledge, with an understanding, okay, I called this person 14 times before I lost track and I stopped making sales calls because I got busy or whatever the case may be. The last time I spoke to him was August. It's now pretty much November. Do I call him back or do I just trash it and start over? And that's a discussion for another day, what I would do. But in the end, you can make that decision simply by opening it and looking. Then you just say in your sales lead system, you just go and trash it or you do whatever you got to do to it. But I hope you can see the simplicity of this and how this, can really dramatically help you stay on track when it comes to your sales. Everything's coordinated. You know what you have coming up. If you got, say for example, if this is November 1st, right? So today is November 1st. And I look at it and I say, okay, November 2nd, tomorrow I'm out of the office. It's a Friday. I'm going to go through these. So my cold calls, I'm going to put to Monday because I haven't really connected with anybody. So I'm going to move these down to Monday. Okay? However, this guy, I really need to talk to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send him an email saying, Mr. Prospect, or I'm going to call him saying, Mr. Prospect, I know we had a conversation scheduled for tomorrow. I'm actually due to unseen circumstances. I'm at meetings, whatever. I'm out of the office. So hypothetically, you either get him or you get him on a voicemail, right? Do you have time now if you have them in person? Or is it possible if I can call you from the road? I apologize for kind of the disturbance and so on and so forth. Then what happens is, by a simple, a quick flash of the eye, you understand what you have on the go tomorrow. So I've actually taken these with me on the road and, on my driving, I pull into a truck stop somewhere, I pull in to grab lunch, I pull it out and I dial for my cell. I say, hey, I'm on the road today, but I know I had a follow-up with you scheduled because we spoke on October 1st and you told me to call you back today at 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. Again, I'm on the road, but I would like to speak to you. I might have a little bit of background noise because I'm on my cell. Other than that, I'm available. Thank you very much. So for me, no matter where you go, you're able to work. I remember one time I worked at a company where I would go from Toronto to Montreal to Toronto a lot. And I actually just, for the trip, there was a bus that was taking us. I actually just picked this entire thing up. Just put it beside my seat. That was my cold calls. The whole way down, I knew which follow-up calls I had to make. I didn't necessarily make cold calls, but I made all my follow-up calls. And when I got to the destination, I just grabbed this because I was there for, I think, close to a week or 5 days. I just grabbed this, I put it right beside my desk, and then I'm looking at it going, okay, first, second, third, okay, today's the 5th, today's 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th. There's no question, there's no confusion. And literally, every time, if you want, I mean, find some of these old guys that are like this, you just use these simple mailing labels, and it actually covers them perfectly. So you can reuse them as much as you want. So, what do you need? You need a stapler. You need some of these label guys. You need like 3112, so you need, call it 43, call it 45 max, okay? You need however many manila folders that you have for sales leads. That's pretty simple. You need 45 of these guys, the hanging folders, okay? You need a pad of paper, and you need a thing of stick-it notes. Those 7 items, right here, can make you millions if you choose to act on it. So the call is yours. You can make it very simple, understand exactly what you got to do. You can always be on top of things. You know, I often put it to people like this. It's very simple. It's very simplistic. This entire thing is simplistic. But don't let its simplicity fool you. It's very powerful. It's a very powerful organization tool. It's a very powerful sales tool. Because you, at the flick of a dime, can know exactly where you are from every call. You know, you can even, you know, if you followed any of my other training, on this sheet here, whoa, almost lost that one. On this here, you put goal next call, blah, 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 blah. So you know, like, okay, so if you followed HPLS, if you followed any of my sales training, I'm very big on having an interaction having a goal for every interaction. But not only am I big on that, I'm big on before you end the call, you set the goal for the next call. So then right after the notes for this call, you just put next call, need to accomplish this, 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 and this. Then what you do is you put this and you're done. You forget about it. If it's everything that the customer has to do, you forget about it. If the customer is supposed to send you information, say, Tuesday, and then you have another call Friday, you just put a little sticky note, info Tuesday, call Friday. So you put it into Tuesday's folder, so you know, you can put on the side of your desk and know, the end of the day Tuesday, if this information hasn't come, like the prospect promised, I got to send him an email on Wednesday because I need his information or her information to do what I need to do to get back to you for Friday like we had scheduled. Once you get the information, you then just simply move it down your thing to Friday. You're done. See the simple, but so effective. So I hope this served you, my friends. I hope it's given you a little bit of a better understanding about how you can use 7 simple items that are around every single office to really help you create that dynamic sales system that I know will serve you for the long run. It's scalable to any level. Until next time, my friends, remember, make every call a learning moment and go out and crush your sales. Take care, my friends. We'll see you soon.